I'm ready.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Stream. I told it to start streaming, so at some point it should hopefully get going.
Excellent. Okay, so when last we left our gallant adventurers, you had limped back from your immobilized and stuck vehicle far to the north near the town of Sarads, and had decided to try and abandon your efforts to find a bridge to the north, at least temporarily, and turn back towards your allies near Sestakova. As you were doing that, you evaded various Soviet patrols and explored a scout camp with canoes and kayaks, as well as seeing a mysterious river haulage vessel, it appears, moving north along the river in the night. After a few days of trekking and becoming very tired and starting to run low on supplies, you made it back to Pranska, formerly the Major's base, now an outpost of the Major, having relocated her central efforts to Sestakova. When you reached Pranska, it was apparent that all was not well. There were a large number of troops starting to become sick. A few troops were also mysteriously disappearing. Suspect, though you do not yet know, that this may have had something to do with Spetsnaz forces that are in the area. It may also have had something to do with the mysterious night vision equipped people who surrounded your camp during the night and with whom there was almost a standoff before they were able to peacefully withdraw. In your investigations, you have not been able to find any water contamination, and you haven't found any rot in the food supply, though there has not been as much investigation of the food as there was of the water. You were, however, able to locate a trail, seemingly from the outskirts of the village towards the food stores, which showed a method by which somebody might have gotten into the food stores, perhaps. A quarantine has been put around Pranska after the Commodore alerted the Major, and the entire party has regathered inside Pranska, and it has been made clear by the Major that you would not be allowed to head back towards Sestakova until the situation has been resolved, and that you know that there are people keeping a watchful eye on Praska, with whom you are in radio contact. And that is fundamentally the situation. The sun dawns on a calm and warm mid-August day. And if you turn to the Praska map, you can drag your tokens on. If you're unable to, I'll drag them for you, and you should have control. But
Can you?
Okay, I'll do that for you. I'll do it. I'll put you all in the central square.
Yeah, can we?
Should all
Yeah,
have ownership powers.
we have ownership, but it's not letting us drag the tokens onto
Okay.
the map.
I've dragged
That
you
might
all
be
on.
a thing with Foundry because I've experienced that in other games.
Interesting. I've dragged you all on, and I can see some of you have moved your tokens around, so hopefully you've got all control there. I will explain that in the... No, that's not working. But anyway, in the vehicle yard, there is a single 5-ton truck and a single jeep. There appear to be about 10 people here in the medical area receiving treatment. About 10 people are in the tents of the city asleep. And there is a scattering of guards on picket duty. There are a couple of people here, such as the NCO in charge of the people on duty and a medic, and the NCO who's generally in charge of the whole place, at least until Dalton showed up and took command, is located here in the town hall. And that is the situation. What do you do?
Edge, do you know how to ping with your mouse?
There you go.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you knew how to do it because I saw the way you were pointing out areas. So if you hold the mouse button down long enough, it'll kind of ping a little radar thing.
And if you do it while holding Alt, it'll become more.
But yeah. So that is the situation on this warm August day.
You're with the
a
Commodore
breeze.
right now. Yeah, going back to Prasky. We're probably just entering the village.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you're all here. You all have entered Franska.
Yeah, we had to go back to Krespi's and we got the another doctor.
Yes.
What's the
I will-
cloaked or the hooded person icon above the car?
Say again, Tiny. You were very quiet there.
Sorry, the hooded person icon above the car.
Hooded person icon above the car. Let me have a look in.
What is that?
I can see no hooded person icon above the car.
Really?
Oh, he's probably talking about the vehicle. It's for
Yeah,
him.
vehicle.
The image for me is a box truck, a black silhouetted box truck. He's
Yes.
probably
Yeah.
seeing the default token image when there's not an image assigned. It looks like a hooded character.
I'm also
Oh,
seeing the box truck, so that's interesting.
Tiny, you
Okay.
might need to refresh
I'm
your.
also seeing. I'm
Tiny,
also
you might
seeing the
need to
box truck.
refresh your game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fucking cat.
No, but doesn't matter really. If it becomes an actual issue, I'll actually panic. But
I'll put in an additional medic here in the tent city. Oh, not the tent city, in the hospital tents to reflect the extra doctor that you brought along. I'll just put them there.
I put him on backpack.
And basically, I would walk into the town square, into the town
Okay.
hall.
Hey, where are we? Like for real? Are we just hanging out here in the middle, like just being buddies?
I put them there so you can easily grab and move them and see them. You can put yourself anywhere you feel like you should be on the map.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
would have
dock is
been.
over here.
I would have been here at the command center until the Commodore returned.
And
At
where
which
would you have
point I would
deployed me?
relinquish command back to her, or him. I mean,
Where would you have deployed me?
Well, are you still walking the perimeter? Or are you seeing things? Seeing a hooded masked figure instead of a truck?
Yeah.
that
You're
just
just
goes
seeing
along-
stealth view.
just goes along with him seeing things, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
but I did.
One time.
Just
One
listen.
time.
Though you did also see you had that really good roll last game, so you saw stuff that no one else was seeing. That was actually legit.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna be patrolling.
Yeah, the Commodore actually saw it, so he does believe you on you saw shit.
Or his hallucinations are contagious.
It's in the water.
Could be.
And we're drinking the same water.
They're in the walls. They're in the goddamn walls.
They're coming out the goddamn walls! Good movie.
Okay, so the Commodore has returned and gone over to the town hall where Dalton has been in charge.
I would be asking a status report.
We have a illness that's going through the camp. I've segregated the worst to the medical area, and I've kept as much of a guard perimeter as possible with ones who are least sick at this point.
Seems like I sent the doctor over to the medical tent. The extra, I think he looks over at Draco, and I think he might be helpful over there with just in case it's any radiation. Weakness or anything. Yeah, you're probably the most experienced on that one. I might as well go over to the tent to see if they've ruled out in town itself.
So you were going to the medical tents as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yes, you can. Soboslaw and Matt, you can both head over to the, or rather, the Commodore can both head over to the medical tents. We'll start with Soboslaw. Okay. Yeah. We'll start with Soboslaw. So, Soboslaw, are you doing NBC tests or are you doing something else?
I'm gonna do some NBC tests around.
Okay. You can give me either a medical aid or survival roll, and you'll get the +1 for this from your NBC training
Got it.
to see if you can work out whether or not this is indeed
Go for what again?
NBC exposure. Survival or medical aid, one of those two.
Got it.
Hopefully, if this all works, when you click on it,
So
you'll
what's
be
the
given the
modifier?
option. Say again?
Modifiers?
+1.
Got it.
Guys, I'm so sorry. I need to step away for maybe 10, 15 minutes. I'm very sorry. I don't know what.
Okay, so that's 2 successes, because one of your base die was a d12. So you get 2 successes there. You're able to look at the various presentations. One of the things that makes you think that it's not biological or chemical. Well, not chemical, is there doesn't appear to be skin lesions or anything along those lines. That's not perfect because it doesn't do stuff for the lungs, but it rules out a lot. As for the lungs, there's no indicating of frothing or anything along those lines. So put that together, probably not chemical. As for radiation, they are experiencing some symptoms that would suggest radiation poisoning, like delirium, fevers, etc., but not enough to say, yes, this is radiation. You are more leaning towards biological, but it's difficult when it's a biological weapon to determine whether or not it's a biological weapon or if people are just sick naturally. But it looks as though they are ill, rather than radioactively contaminated or exposed to some kind of chemical agent.
Well, most likely it is biological. There's no possible signs of it being radioactive or chemicals, so we're most likely dealing with a matter of biological situation. It's a biological situation.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I thought I had the water tested too, but
You did, and the water
we
came
didn't
out clear.
we didn't have a clear indication of anything in it because of the limited testing equipment we had.
Okay, Commodore, I understand you were heading over to the medical tents as well. What were you doing there?
Just getting a status report on the sick. Who's the most sick? Her.
I imagine the good doctor will be the person to give you that, but I'll remind the good doctor. So at the moment, you've got the most sick person is starting to fade in and out of consciousness. They're showing very high fever signs. They're sweating a lot. They've got discharge from both ends, or at least they used to. It seems like most of the stuff that they could have vomited or shat out is gone. Like their body is empty, and they are suffering from quite bad dehydration as well.
Sorry, I was picking up on the stream. So I know that we ran the blood test last episode, and we're not able to come up with anything decisively conclusive.
That's correct, but you were able
we've
to
been
detect that there
expecting
was something there.
Now you got better equipment, you can retest it.
Yeah, some testing equipment has been brought over. It's Russian equipment, but it is testing equipment has been brought over from the Sestakova base, along with some manuals. You want? You can give me. Carry on.
He picks it up and he starts translating it for the doctor.
Yeah. Given that you've got someone translating for you, I'm going to give you a bonus, but not like a full bonus, because there's somebody in the way. So you can give me a medical aid roll at a +1 for having proper equipment, but with the manuals having to be translated for you.
I'm translating for the doctor.
Okay, so that's 2 successes. You keep doing more testing. It takes a while because you have to draw blood, take samples, etc., and wait for the tests to finish. So this is not rapid. It takes a good few hours. But at the end of those good few hours, you are able to confirm that there is a foreign presence in their system. Manual says here are various indicators for if it's this disease, that virus, this bacteria, this poisoning element, etc. It doesn't match any of them. There's something in there, but either this machine wasn't designed to build it, or it's just not in the manual.
I don't think it's in the manual.
People in silent thought.
Yeah, he goes, oh, I don't think it's in the manual. Whatever you're describing.
Wonderful. Just wonderful.
That takes a good few hours, that process. And yes, you're able to confirm there's something there, but whatever that something is not in the manual. As for Dalton and Emil, are you up to anything in particular?
I'm still kind of hanging out as the senior NCO at the town hall. Usually, commanding officers and senior NCOs stay together to coordinate when they're running a company or a facility.
Okay.
Until I'm relieved by a senior NCO, I think I would just stay on station at the town hall to help coordinate.
The sergeant who's with you, he's tired. He's looking grey. He's got the image of somebody who hasn't slept for 36 hours, but he's still doing it, and he's clearly competent. He's clearly doing a good job because he's horrendously understaffed, but he's managing to coordinate things and keep a lid on things. Routine reports are coming in and out from the watches, etc., and everything other than the sickness, everything is normal. Nothing strange is being reported in any other fashion.
I'd order him to his tent and tell him not to come back for at least 8 hours. Tell him to get some rest.
Yeah, he will follow your orders, and he'll go over to the tent city. He gives you a sort of a grateful nod. He doesn't ask, are you sure? Because he can tell in your voice. He gives a grateful nod, and he does say, however, if anything should come up, just yell loudly enough. I'll be back here in a moment.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, he will hobble off and go lie down. But yes, as you manage things independently, no strange reports are coming to you. Everything is exactly as anticipated, other than the sickness. Every now and again, people will talk about more civilians also showing these symptoms. The civilians are not being taken to the medical tents, chiefly because there just isn't enough room. So the civilians are generally being told to quarantine in their own homes.
How many civilians are on this post? Do we know?
There is about. Hang on. There's a little under 100.
And is it a wide range of varying degrees of illness?
Yeah,
Have any,
it's
have,
yeah,
have any
it's
of the
some.
civilians died as well?
Well, so far, no. The people who have gone don't appear to have died from the illness, though it's definitely heading in that way quite rapidly. Actually, a civilian has died of the illness.
And where
They
is
may
that body right now?
That body has been taken to the old sort of commercial high street area of the town, full of what was once shops and that kind of affair, which is, I'll just bring it, this sort
Yep,
of area, these two grey
see
buildings.
it. Yeah. I
And
would
it's
send a
been moved up there.
runner to the doctor and let her know that there is a suspected fatality if she wants to inspect it, do a autopsy, whatever.
Well, Feeble, I apologise. Dr. Rostergram. Oh dear. Dr. Rostergram will receive that runner in a few minutes.
Okay.
And you're notified that there is a doctor. I've been told to inform you that there is a civilian corpse in the shopping district that's been held, and you may autopsy it if you wish.
She'll kind of not perk up, but we'll just nod and say, I think that might be helpful.
Okay, the Commodore is hearing this and he goes, well, I know what me and Self-Law will be doing right now. Checking on the civilians.
Okay, we'll start with Dr. Rostergram. Do you bring tools over there and autopsy it there, or do you bring it back to the medical area and autopsy it there? How are you doing this?
Probably not the. I know that if she can bring all the tools that she needs, it might be better to be. I don't know. The thought of bringing a dead body to a medical ward, where other patients would see it, I don't know. She's not necessarily okay with that.
Fine. You've got enough fit hands in the form of the doctor that you brought with you to help you bring over the table and the tools, so that's not going to be a difficulty. This is going to be another good few hours, so this is like a second shift task. But you may give me a medical aid roll given all of your various tools and the assistance of the other doctor, you may give me a medical aid roll at +2 for the autopsy work.
Set this up.
Okay, so you start the autopsy, and at first this looks like classic signs of immense dehydration, elements of malnutrition, which is interesting because they were definitely eating. Huge elements of fever. You get inside and you start looking at the various organs, and that's when stuff really starts not adding up, because it looks as though there has been quite rapid multi-organ failure. You look at like the stomach, it's just the wrong color. You start going into various, and this is where I start to outstrip my own personal medical knowledge. But you go into various other organs, chiefly organs related to the digestive system. And there are various signs there. Like you take samples from them, and you're expecting to find certain vitamin levels. They're just not present. You're expecting, white blood cell counts to be in one particular place. They're completely off in the other place, which also implies something to do with bone marrow. That's weird. There's a lot here that a lot went wrong inside this person quite quickly. If this was normally, naturally occurring, this is the kind of thing where they would have to have caught several different diseases all at the same time and maybe had a hereditary thing in there as well. The chances are incredibly slight that this was naturally occurring.
Doesn't make any sense.
About the conclusions of that autopsy, and whilst the autopsy is happening, do you say that Soboslao and the Commodore were touring the civilian population? Are you touring the sick, the healthy, all of them?
He's doing it, yeah, all of them, just to be on the safe side of if any of them get any worse, or in the worst case scenario, or even death.
So you do a tour of the various civilian houses. This, again, there's enough of them that this is probably a shift activity. And unless you want to focus on any specific one, the general trend is that unless they've got work to do, the civilians are locking themselves up. It's like they're afraid of catching whatever the hell this is. So they're segregating themselves anyway. About a quarter to a third of the civilians are doing their work. It's chiefly farming. And that is one of the things that and it's one of the reasons why the Major has held on to this place, which is as long as it's not ridiculously overstaffed, this place actually turns a food profit. And the farms around here are useful. It just wasn't enough when the Major had all of her forces here. As for the people locked away, there doesn't seem to be a pattern in who is sick and who isn't. You'll quite often have one very sick person in a household, but everybody else in the household seems relatively or entirely healthy. It appears to be randomly striking. And regrettably, as you are doing your searches, you do find one more dead person who was just home alone. You have to sort of like force your way in, and you just find them dead in their bed.
With their throat slit.
No signs of foul play.
Who finds Savislav or the Commodore?
You can both give me a recon roll, flat. Whoever gets the highest is the one that finds it.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's Soboslao. Soboslao finds the body.
Alright, and... Alright, where's the body? Where's the body?
I'll put your token on the house that it's in.
Alright. The effect's just slowly hovering over.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the house in which the body is found. It's it's the only person living in that house. It is a man in their early to mid 30s, clearly a local.
And he's. I don't think he's alive, is he?
No.
He very much does not move, no matter what you do.
I just want to make sure if the body is contaminated, just in case.
You can give me a flat medical aid roll.
Got it.
There's nothing on there
Shit.
that, yeah, there's nothing on there that obviously looks like it's dangerous. I mean, he's not. There's no open wounds. His mouth isn't like caked in vomit. Nothing's seeping or oozing. None of the very obvious "do not touch this" affairs.
I'll just still keep at a distance, just in case. But I would like to try and examine the body. And
Okay. Are you going to be cutting it open, or are you just going to be looking on the outside?
looking on the outside for now until I could find a way to just drag him.
Okay. And do you take the subject's clothes off?
No.
Okay. In that case, pretty much, and I'll use your pre-existing medical aid roll. The only thing that you're really going to be able to tell is that his skin is pale and slightly discolored. Eyes a little sunken, cheeks a little gaunt, which are not surprising signs if there's some kind of malnutrition problem, but also that is common to just the final stage of a huge number of potential illnesses.
Looks like I'll have to strip him down with the clothes then. Carefully.
Start doing that, and it's relative from like a more concave than normal stomach and some stuff around the ribs. It does look as though that he was suffering from nutritional problems, and yeah, that's very much a feature in this particular person's death. But there's no lesions, no cuts, no wounds, no discoloration of the skin like rashes beyond the pale gauntness of the whole affair. No obvious odd coloured patches. Relatively straightforward.
This might bite me in the ass, but looks like I'll actually have to cut the guy open.
Okay, are you just doing that right here?
No, probably get him somewhere more secure.
Okay. Do you report this death, or do you take it of your own initiative?
I'll report the death.
All right. Well, Dalton, you will get a runner reporting that Soberslayer has found another dead civilian who appears to be showing the same signs as the previous dead civilian, and that they're currently in their house.
I would order the runner to find another soldier and bring a stretcher to the house to remove the body to the temporary morgue area for autopsy.
Okay. That runner will run off and ensure that is done. They go to the sort of other squad medic who's on duty. He shows up at Soberslau's location, complete with stretcher, and it is not difficult for you to both take the body over here. I'll move Rostogram's token because Rostogram is currently performing an autopsy. Over here, which appears to be the improvised morgue, and it's in an old bowling alley, so there's quite a lot of like open space to lay out bodies in the alleys. It's not an ideal situation, but it's all they could think of at the moment. So, the body is taken over to Old Bowling Alley. Before we get to the arrival of that body, Emil, you're doing patrols around the edge, aren't you?
Yep, I'm just walking in a large circle, saying
Yeah,
hi.
give me a
good
recon.
evening. Oh,
Okay. Jesus! Okay,
Oh,
alright. Let's have a
shit.
quick
I'm awake.
something here.
Ghost friend's back.
I found my old rifle. Wow.
Okay. For some strange reason, the dice roller does not want to cooperate with me, so I'll just have to do this myself. Alright, okay. You can't be absolutely sure, but there might be something in the woods to the south. It's difficult to tell, but that bush wasn't there before.
All right. Am I alone? Yeah, I'm alone. What is our established like? Hey guys, woohoo! Do I just whistle?
This thing is so far away that it probably won't hear you if you yell at it.
Okay, I'm gonna yell back at back north. I think I see something. I need somebody here. Send somebody over here.
Yeah, it's audible, and one of the guys from one of the nearby trenches, pops out of his trench and runs over and plops back into the trench next to you. And what you're talking about here is a couple, well over 100 meters away. It's a few hundred meters away. And yeah, he plops into the trench next to you. So what's up, old man? What's going on?
I would like to sort of non-conspicuously view through my. I mean, you can't really do this non-conspicuously. I'm gonna look at the bush through my scope.
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell him just very confidently. There's a bush there that wasn't there earlier.
And he sort of squints in that general direction. And so I don't see how you can possibly tell.
Do I see anything with my scope?
See a bush.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm using a scope, and yeah, I'm using a scope, and I give a little, like, I bump his shoulder with my own, but I'm telling you, there is a bush there that wasn't there earlier. Uh,
Uh, your eyes all right, old guy?
hmm I'm the guy who spotted the Spetsnaz in the middle of the night. My
Well,
eyes are the one thing that does work.
he cracks a smile at that. He is amused. I guess. All right. If you make you feel any better, do you want me to go and check it out?
Mm, not alone. I definitely let them know first.
What you think I should get a couple of guys together and go have a look?
That would make me feel better. We use a little
Yeah,
smile.
okay. Well, I suppose I should report this before I get some guys. Just stay here, all right? I don't think your legs can cope with much more.
I'll keep an eye on the enemy bush.
He pops out, and he goes and reports to Dalton, and comes along and says, "Sorry, excuse me, Sergeant. Emil thinks that he sees something suspicious, some suspicious foliage, a little off to the southwest. He doesn't think that it should be looked at alone. I can't make it out, but I was going to grab Peter, our machine gunner, and go and investigate."
Commodore?
Dalton.
Man down. Oh, Dalton, sorry. Man down.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot I switched to push the button. Out of character question. About how many soldiers do we have? And of that, about how many are down due to the illness versus available for duty?
You've got about 30 in total. About 10 are down for illness, about 10 are sleeping, and about 10 are on duty.
And this runner wants to grab one of his buddies that's a machine gunner and wants to investigate. Is that what I understand?
That is his suggestion, courtesy of Emil.
It is my fault.
Yeah, I will approve it as long as Emil's maintaining overwatch on the bush. Otherwise, I'd rather have him take a couple of guys instead of just one.
Okay. He'll say, "Short Sergeant, I will go and inform Emil of this, and if he is able to provide overwatch, I'll take Peter and investigate. If not, I'll see if I can round up some more guys, but we'd be starting to lose eyes on certain compass directions at that point."
Understood.
He'll run off and do that. He'll grab Peter, the machine gunner, from up here. And they both gather up by Emil and sort of flop down into the trench and say, "Yeah, the sergeant has said that we can do it if you keep overwatch and make sure that we're all okay."
Happily. Do me a favor. If at any point you want me to shoot the bush, just in case, without giving away that you are feeling in danger, just raise your left hand and maybe 2 fingers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. They nod. And yeah, they nod and they get out of the trench and they start walking casually, as it were, distantly, appropriately separated out. But it seems like the general plan is to not tip off that they know something, and so they don't walk straight in its direction. They kind of walk off a little bit to the side, etc. And they're not doing the whole run, go from cover to cover. Not that there's much in this field, because they're trying to appear casual. It takes them a while because there's quite a bit of distance. Emil, give me another just flat recon roll.
Dude, you know it. I'm gonna do it. Please. I'm gonna push.
You may.
Okay. I was gonna grab my bird. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Oh, by the way, as a side note, can the only rolls that you just to make sure I'm using this correctly, are the only rolls that yours guys seeing Emil's rolls?
Yes, we're not.
Yeah, yours says privately rolled some dice, so it is working.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay.
So-
I got my bird. Do I get them? Are they dead?
So you're looking. You're looking. And nothing really appears to be happening as these two soldiers slowly make their way over there. After a while, you see that they close on the bush. One of them, the machine gunner, a little further back in a position where he could provide cover, whilst the rifleman gets like right up to the bush. And you can see through your scope, he is kicking the bush and pulling stuff aside and looking into it before looking back in your direction and just like shrugging his shoulders. He then starts investigating the area around the bush. He's checking the ground. Said something, Tiny?
Huh?
I thought you said something. I apologize.
Yeah. Why? I said, why do you do this to me? Please carry on.
You're the old man of the party.
In fact, I'm gonna do a quick check. Okay.
We.
All right. After a while, he just sort of shrugs again and starts heading back to your position with his machine gunner friend. And they have an uneventful time as they come and they both plop back into the trench.
Okay.
And they say, there was nothing there, nothing strange, and I couldn't find any tracks of anyone or anything. The bush looked as though it had been rummaged around in for a while, but it looked like a pig had been at it. But I couldn't find any tracks, of a pig. But in these parts, that seems about right.
Better a pig than a Russian, I guess. Hey, thank you for having a look.
Oh, no problem, old man. Let us know if you see any more pigs. And he chuckles and he starts heading back to his trench.
Maybe you'll have some bacon for dinner.
Oh,
It
that'd be
might
nice.
be a Russian boar.
Yeah.
But yeah, throughout the remainder of your patrolling around and looking at various things with your excellent recon result, that's the only oddity. Other than that, everything is absolutely normal, and nothing catches your extremely attentive eyes.
Okay. So, oh well, yeah. I'll finish the patrol and then I'll go to Dalton.
Go to Dalton. Okay.
Well, yeah, but that's after I finish the. I'm not gonna cut it.
Sure. I'll just move you over. Okay. Back with Soboslaw. You and the medic are able to take the new body to the old, disused bowling alley. The lights are off, as they have been for many, many years. The surface of the alleys is starting to crack and peel, but it's actually structurally in pretty good shape. And you can lay the body out relatively near Rostogram, who is finishing up their previous autopsy, and we're starting to get into the beginning of the third shift of the day.
I'm back. Sorry, I keep getting distracted.
Fine. I was just saying that you've just brought the body back to the bowling alley, where Rostogram is finishing the autopsy on the other dead civilian who has been found.
Well, I'm assuming that other body isn't the only one. We found this one in one of the houses.
Oh my goodness. Do you happen to have any idea when this one might have died?
No, but there's clear signs of rigor mortis.
I see.
You can give me a medical aid roll to give me a guesstimate of time of death. Rigor hasn't set in, and they're still slightly warm. You're talking hours.
Alright. Well, most likely they've been dead for a few hours.
A few hours?
Rigor hasn't set in yet.
Alright, I
But
best get to work on this one.
Dr. Rostogram, you can make me, and it'll take up your whole third shift, but you can make me a medical aid roll at +2. Okay. This one is showing very similar signs to the other one when you start doing autopsy. Everything, whatever killed this person, it's the same thing as killed the other one. All of the signs are exactly the same. This one is fresher, and as a result of which, some of your samples prove slightly more illustrative. The trace chemical compositions that have been detected, but you haven't been able to work out what they are also present in this person's system in greater concentrations. You suspect that's because it's a fresher death, and they're very much concentrated in the digestive system.
Definitely something being ingested. But what? And Lieutenant, whereabouts did you find this body? Pointing it out to me on a map.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes?
Sorry, nothing, it's just... My brain just thought I've spaced out.
You were asked where you found the body.
Alright. Well... One of the houses nearby, approximately around here.
I see.
The fucking cat.
Inspected the food. Tested the water. It's missing here.
You need somebody to double check your work, Doctor?
Oh great, I'm hearing voices now too. Actually, no, but back it's... I think Doctor was actually about to ask the Lieutenant if she was going to say, these bodies are really weird. Have you seen anything like this? So that's what she's going to go do.
Well, checking the water supply, there was something that definitely had signs of biological aspects, though it's not really sure if it's a biological weapon or if it's just an outbreak of an actual simple disease, you know?
I mean, if it is a disease... It's like nothing I've ever seen before. But I don't know, you run kids through medical school and they're going to forget things. Even if they wind up putting it to the test real quick after graduating.
Check the water supply again.
If you do want to check the water supply, I will allow that. It would either be a technical or medical aid role, but this autopsy took the whole third shift. You'd be going into fourth shift and starting to suffer the effects of not sleeping.
I think somebody's gonna need to fill your role for the time being. You definitely need some rest.
She looks like she wants to fight you on that.
It looks like he is willing to just manhandle you and just drag you to bed in the most British way possible.
I will point out that applies to all of you. All of you are now entering into like fourth shift without sleep. So if you press on, you're going to start taking negatives.
I'm going to drag her into sleep with...
You could have finished that real bad.
I'm going to the hall and just having a sleep in the town hall.
And
Yeah,
how long would it have been since I sent that sergeant off for his rest? We talking 2 shifts already?
Oh yeah, he has recovered. He's able to take over command again. He's got proper sleep.
Okay, so when he comes back, I would hand off NCO officer or NCO of the day activity back to him, and then I would go find a place to crash wherever the Commodore is.
Absolutely. There's a couple of beds which were clearly for the Major and her senior staff whilst they were still here, and those are in the town hall, and they're completely serviceable. The guards in general, I won't move over all of their tokens. The 10 who are sleeping go on duty. The 10 who are on duty are now sleeping. They take up equivalent positions and mount their watch.
Are any of them showing increased signs of illness?
Yes. None of them are in, shall we say, I am falling over stages of illness, but some of the people who are either going off or coming on watch are showing some of the early signs.
Okay, I would tell the sergeant of the day to keep an eye on the ones that their signs of illness are increasing, and to let the Commodore and I know if any of them start to require relief from duty.
Does everybody else go to get a good night's sleep?
I'm dragging
Yes.
Roster
Yes.
to sleep.
Right. Tiny, please roll me 2d100.
63, 76.
82 and 62. Okay. Also, just as a side note, in my other game I run on Foundry, which is less technically complicated than this, my party managed to roll 100 on a D100 3 times in a row.
Oh.
Wait, I thought it was broken, and I went into it. It was like, oh no, they're actually doing it right. They just got 1 in ridiculous odds.
Damn.
Yeah. Okay.
That's like winning
So-
a baby lottery.
Yeah, like one of them worked out the odds. I forget exactly what it is, but there were a lot of zeros involved. But okay, so you all go to sleep, and you have undisturbed nights. None of when you wake up, none of you are showing any symptoms. You've all managed to get a full night's rest. The sun is starting to come up, and there's no sign of anything having gone wrong. The weather is again much like yesterday. It is a warm, heading into hot, dry day, but not as hot as it used to be in August. And yes, you're all able to go back to what you were doing. Now, food and water. It's the beginning of the day, so you have to consume food and water. Are you going to consume the town's food and water, in which case I will take nothing off of your personal rations? Or are you going to be eating or drinking the food and water that you brought with you, in which case you'll have to take it off your sheets?
Oh,
Until we know what's causing this illness, I would personally be using my own rations.
Yeah,
as
same.
I'm suspect of maybe food or water contamination.
okay,
Okay.
I drink clean water for the day, but I don't have any food. Can anybody spot me?
What did we have when we came back into town? Because I know we were on foot. Did we? I have 3 rations
Olive.
on me.
Yeah, that I have made sure that your sheets are accurate with what you had when you walked into this town. The stuff that is in your sheets is what you have. You have nothing beyond what is on your sheets.
And how much is 1 ration of water? Is that 0.25 or is that?
A ration of clean water is half a unit, 0.5.
Okay, so I got 1 ration of water and 3 rations of food.
Yep. And if you drink your water and eat your food, delete 1 item of clean water and delete 1 item of domestic, or well, I can see from your sheet it's domestic food, whatever food type that you are happening to have.
Okay, I'm going to drink 1 water and delete 1 food, and I'll have 2 food to give to somebody if they need it.
I'll take only 1 food, and I'll be very grateful for it. Thank you so much.
So give Tiny 1 of my food, and I'll delete it from my sheet.
I'll just delete it. I just ate it. Yum, yum, yum.
Oh, okay.
Immediately.
All right.
Has everyone deleted a unit of water and a unit of food?
Yes.
Not me.
Yeah.
Okay, if you are eating your own stuff, delete 1 unit of water and delete 1 unit of food.
Done.
All right, are we up to
Did
speed?
it. Yep.
Okay. So, Aslau, have you done it?
Yeah.
All right. In that case, you all eat your own stuff, perfectly fine, and you're able to get back to your business as you wake up in your various billets in the town hall.
Before I go into duty,
Mhm.
I do go to the Commodore and I ask, is it okay if I maybe, instead of patrolling, I go and, oh, what's the word? What's the word? And I go and forage? Or maybe hunt?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. And in that case, I would like to spend my first action of the day go into the forest and forage.
Absolutely. Make me
What
that
just said that?
survival roll.
Now I get +1 because I'm good at forage.
With Foundry, hopefully it'll add it automatically.
That's a 96. Oh,
That's successes. So I'm just going to check how many I think that's 2 units of food that you get from foraging. So yeah, you are able to forage up 2 units worth of food. I will put those into your sheet.
thank you.
Edge, what's the weather today? I think you mentioned it. I just don't remember what you said.
Yeah. It is warm, verging on hot. There is either no wind or very slight wind, and the clouds do not appear to be threatening rain.
Okay.
Put 2 wild food into Emil's sheet.
Thank.
Okay.
Yeah,
Carry
that's my. No, sorry. That is my first thing, and I should not be doing my second one before people get to do anything.
But yeah, you spend the time foraging around, and it's successful. You are, of course, alone whilst you're doing this, but nothing
I'm
appears to happen
aware.
to you. You are, however, what's that? What's that behind you? That's nothing.
Just
You
a
want to roll a
bush.
recon roll?
Just a bush.
I
Okay,
can roll
Max
a
was saying
recon roll if
something.
you want.
You can roll recon actually. Yeah, just flat recon. Zero imagination. There's nothing there.
Yeah, I definitely saw one Spetsnaz who proved that, but now I'm losing my self esteem again.
Okay, Mac, you were saying something.
Well, the Commodore will just his first shift when he wakes up, he'll go and we'll check on the civilians.
Okay.
Again.
Do you check in with the people who are in command of the night shift, or you just go straight to checking civilians?
I'll check on the night shift and see if there's any reports of death or anything like that.
Okay. When you check in, the sergeant is looking not entirely happy, and when he hands over his report, he says that during the night, 2 of our men who were in the sick bay have died, and 3 of our men who were not in the sick bay have now been hospitalized. Their condition got that severe, including one of our NCOs.
Damn it. He calls up the... Has the doctor went over to the medical bay yet?
The doctor would have started her day at the medical tent, not in the morgue area.
Sure, you would discover that information regarding the new admissions and the deaths for yourself
Let me pop her up.
upon arriving at the medical tents.
I'll find out. Yes. I'll find out what the doctor is going to do with the... I know the doctor actually... find out what the doctor is going to do with the... Finding out what it is.
Well, you've got 2 new bodies to autopsy if you want, or if you've got a different plan.
But, I'll ask, Dalton, can he, scout around to see if there's any, if he can find the bodies for around the village to see if there's any bodies that we can find.
I can do that.
Yeah.
With Dalton checking in on the civilian houses, and it's known which houses are abandoned and which ones are lived in. When you start knocking on doors and so forth, they are generally opened for you, and people report that they're either the same as they were, or sicknesses are starting to advance, one of the two. And there is one building, when you knock on it, that just doesn't answer the door.
All right, I'm going to kick the door in and investigate.
I won't make you roll for kicking the door in because it's not a time crisis. You've got a good few chances to give it a whack. And yeah, you are eventually able to kick the door in. The building is clearly lived in. It's in relatively good condition. Explore the house and head upstairs. In the master bedroom, when you go inside, you can find 2 people, 1 man, 1 woman, both of whom appear relatively old, are just lying motionless in bed.
Do they appear, and I have no medical expertise, but do they appear to me as if they had died from old age, or do they appear sick like the other people in the town?
It would be remarkable if they both died of old age at the same time. And they're both like very obviously dead. They do not appear to be breathing, and if you are willing to touch them, you would find no pulse. They also show some of the obvious outer symptoms that they were sick.
All right. Well, Dalton's not a germaphobe, but he's not going to touch them if he can just tell by looking that they are obviously deceased. Would I have had I would have asked for a soldier to come with me in case I needed a runner, and would send that information back to the Commodore.
Absolutely. Yeah, you would have the manpower for that soldier, and that soldier will run back and give a status update.
He'll go and send him to go and get a soldier in a hammock, one of those transporters for bodies.
Yep.
Yeah, stretchers, 2 of them. He'll make sure to get another 2 soldiers, 2 people onto it as well.
Okay, where are you going to get those other 2 soldiers?
I'll go go and get the doctor and the Lieutenant Salvaslaw
Do the vehicles in the motor pool have fuel?
Yes, they do.
Maybe we ought to use a vehicle to transport the bodies.
I'll just tell the dude, go and get the vehicle, take it down to... There's 2 of them, just go and take the vehicle down.
Yeah, on their own initiative, that particular soldier chooses the truck and moves without difficulty over, I'm going to say here, to pick up the 2 bodies, loads them both, and then drives them down to the bowling alley and unloads them without difficulty. There's a heavy silence on behalf of the people doing the loading and unloading, and it's not so much that they're handling dead bodies. Everyone here is very used to that by now, although it's never entirely easy. But it's more an element of, this is going to happen to us, isn't it? You can kind of pick up that the base is starting now to suffer from morale problems. Yep. That's 4 new bodies for the morgue this morning. 2 soldiers, 2 civilians.
Has the doctor actually informed on the Commodore on what's the problem with the killing the civilian, the people?
Well, since she doesn't know what the cause is, she doesn't really have much new to report.
Yeah.
I'd recommend we test the water and the food again, just in case the previous test was invalid or failed.
I had another thought this morning. Was that depending on what this water and food test comes back with, what sort of containers are people using when they're ingesting the water and eating the food?
Yeah, that's another thing we need to consider if we can test the water and yeah.
Okay. Well, in terms of the containers, it's drawn via a well. And there's also water collected from like rain collectors and so forth, but it hasn't rained for a couple of days. So there's still some in there for the torrential downpour that bogged your truck.
Mm-hmm.
That water is then collected in water butts, and soldiers are generally filling their canteens directly from those butts. Civilians are coming along with buckets, glasses, 1 litre fuel, well, not fuel containers, but like plastic versions of fuel container, that kind of affair, for the purposes of water that have very definitely been cleaned out. They're not accidentally drinking trace amounts of petrol. And yeah, all of that. So that tends to be how people are getting the water. As for the food that is being consumed isn't really kept in containers other than in the storehouse. People are just being given their almost entirely vegetables, very occasionally pieces of meat, but vegetables that are being grown here, they're just being given them, and then they're putting them in like sacks that they bring themselves or something along those lines, taking it home and cooking it and putting it on plates. Similarly, when the army is getting its food, it's being made in big, like squad mobile kitchens, and well, bigger than a squad. But anyway, yeah, big mobile kitchens, and then is being dished out, and the soldiers are generally eating from their own like ration tins.
Commodore's actually thinking it's from the water, but
if it's vegetables,
not quite sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. He's probably thinking more of the water, wherever they're getting the water from. But double check both, be on the safe side.
If I remember correctly, last time we tested the well, but we didn't test the I forget what Edge calls them. We call them water buffaloes, the big tanks. Maybe we need to test the water in the tanks.
And is that the same water?
And
Go ahead.
The tanks are rainwater, so they get they specifically catch the water, and if they're check both of them just in case.
Possible somebody threw a contaminant in one of them. We need to test for that.
Yeah.
Testing all of these various sources is going to be a shift's worth of work, and I'm going to say it's a shift's worth of work for one person to test the water, and a shift's worth of work for a different person to test the food. So who's doing what? It could be the same person across 2 shifts, and it's going to be either a medical aid role or a tech role, your choice, and it's just going to be flat. Unless you've got anything on your sheets, such as I think Dr. Rostogram's got something that'll give her a +1 in these situations.
Well, that makes more sense. than doing-
Basically, I'll assign both Rostogram and Salvaslaw to it.
I mean, I have a D in tech, but it's not
Yeah.
real good.
Well, I guess it's my turn to shine.
Anybody who's getting involved in this can give me those 2 roles. Well,
Tech role?
the one role of your choice, either medical aid or tech.
Bet.
Also, it's important you tell me which one you're testing. Are you testing food or are you testing water?
Testing the water.
Okay, so that's our result on water testing.
All we need is the doctor to do the food test.
Soberslau, you test the well again, you test the water butts, you test where the rainwater is being collected, the water buffaloes. You test all of that with everything that you can. And admittedly, you don't have the full range of testing kit here because resource shortages are very real, but you come out negative on everything. The water shows as clean for everything that you test it for. As for Dr. Rostogram and doing the food, previously you were testing it for like obvious signs of being interfered with, obvious signs of rot or like discoloration, and it all came out completely clear. It still, when looks completely fine, but with some of the knowledge that you have gained from your various autopsies, you test for some of the like trace elements that you have been finding in the bodies in the food, and you find an incredibly small amount of it that is completely invisible to the naked eye, but it does like come across when you put like a powder on it that causes it to change color. You find small, very small amounts of it on the vegetables, and it's slightly chemically different, but particularly with 2 successes, it doesn't surprise you that it would be slightly chemically different because being inside a human body and interacting things would chemically change it.
And what type of food is this that we're testing? Is it the farmed food or is this the like packaged food items?
It's farm food because almost everything is farm food. Packaged food items are almost entirely gone. Everyone's eating farm food.
Is this contamination present on all the various types of farm food, or is it on a specific piece of farm food?
You go into it, and it appears to be on. Okay, the way the farm food is stored is it's in a sack of something else. So you got like a sack of potatoes, a sack of radishes, a sack of carrots, that kind of affair.
So what
and
specific one of them contaminated?
Once Rostogram finds it on one of them and decides, I assume, to like test everything, it's not in every single sack in the warehouse, but it's in a lot of them, and it is like random. So it'll be in potatoes, it'll be in carrots, it'll be in radishes, but it then won't be in a different sack of radishes.
It almost seems like someone is
Okay.
intentionally.
Okay, get the contaminated bags out of the storage. Food supply.
Is there any way to identify where the sacks have come from? I mean, is there a specific farmer that's providing all of the uh, material in the sacks, or is it just kind of compiled and then loaded into the sacks arbitrarily and not specifically from any one source?
Yeah, it looks as though, and you talk to the quartermaster, and the way it's sort of done is each farmer brings up a sack of their food, and they have pre-sorted the sacks like already by vegetable, and and just put it in the storehouse. But the storehouse, like the sacks aren't labeled, the sacks aren't numbered, so once it's in the storehouse, you lose all track of which farmer put it there.
Okay, so I would recommend to the Commodore that we start labeling sacks. Uh, we isolate the contaminated sacks and dispose of that material. But we start marking the sacks so that we can keep track of which farmer has a sack at a given time and what was in it. And when it's brought back, we have those sacks tested to see if there's a contaminant, because it's possible that the farmer is using chemicals on their produce, and it might be a chemical that's causing this problem.
Yeah, he's gonna suggest to the quartermaster we start with to every sack, you're gonna put a number system in place. And whoever takes that number, you have to write down their names. Whoever's got that specific number, so we can actually track who has that specific number at any given time.
He nods and says, "Of course, Commodore, I will implement that system when the next harvest comes in. We estimate the next harvest will be in a few months' time."
Good.
We also need to, because we are diminishing our food supply, we're going to have to set up a hunting slash foraging party, and we're going to have to replenish with meat.
Yeah. These
Do you want
presents
to
say
task? Oh no, you finish first, Mac.
we'll have to task a team together. I don't want people to go individually. It has to be a team of people, so we don't lose people. And I'll have to send word to the major to get at least some food supply up to us immediately. Until we can actually sort out the food supply.
Okay. Do you want to task? Okay. I'm imagining. Please tell me that I'm wrong. That once it's been revealed from like random testing that yeah, there are some sacks that are contaminated. That every single sack is tested, and that every single sack which shows as even trace amounts of the positive is like taken out and dumped outside the city limits or destroyed.
Basically,
Well, I think
any
before we
contaminant.
destroy it, we need to keep some samples for testing to verify that it is cause of this illness.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're going to do, but we're going to remove those that are contaminated at the present time.
Okay. You are doing this, and the various pieces of testing. It quickly becomes apparent that you are going to have to isolate and or destroy approximately 70% of the fuel reserve, of the food reserve.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Damn.
why are we getting rid of fuel now?
Food reserve. This means that on projections, and the quartermaster says this pretty quickly, that this town had enough food to survive the winter, head into spring, and give some surplus to Sestakova, which is the whole reason this place exists. As it is
Damn
now,
it.
the amount that's been destroyed, there's no surplus for Sestakova, and it won't have enough food to reach winter, let alone get through it.
Damn it. He goes back to the. Goes. Give me a moment. He goes to the radio.
Okay, yep. The people who are maintaining the quarantine pick up.
We found the source of the problem. It is the food supply over here.
Understood. What is your plan?
Oh, that's the problem. We're gonna have to destroy the source of the problem, but the other problem is that it's going to be at least 70% of the food supply, plus whatever was here of that 70% is supposed to. Some of it was going to be coming to us. They had enough to last the winter and the spring, and enough to come to us as well.
And
Inform the major.
okay, sorry, I was just Okay, so there's a pause, and they say we will pass along that request for additional food to the major. In the meantime, do you have any method of treating people?
Not at this present time. Until the doctor figures it out. Yeah, we don't have any other way. And inform the major there has been 6 deaths. 2 of them are our own soldiers.
Pass that information along. And they'll also add, until everyone in that town is symptom-free, the quarantine is to remain in place.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He thought to pass the information on. Commodore out, and he goes out and says, we're going to have to test the food to see if it's the actual same, but we're going to have more supply of food coming up to us in probably the coming days. One of us will have to go out there.
Okay. It'll be a good few hours until you get a response out of Sestakova. So we've got quite a few people taking food. That's going to take time. It's taken a whole shift to get this far. We head into the second shift of the day. Again, some soldiers are just still moving food around. They're very much stretched. We'll start with Dr. Rostogram. In the second shift, you found the contaminated food. What next in your plan?
So, finding the contaminant, but is it like I guess it's, what kind of contaminant are we talking here? Like chemical, biological? Because depending on the type, I'm not, out of character, not a medical person, but in character, I'm sure that there are ways that you isolate and either neutralize or completely remove the effects of said contaminant. Because also, if we can neutralize that contaminant, then we may not have to lose 70% of the food supply. It might just be we have to treat it somehow.
Okay. So you can give me considering that you found the contaminant both before and after, and you've taken several autopsies, and you've got equipment, in addition to anything that you might have from your sheet, you can give me a medical aid roll at +2 to answer that question.
And the Commodore would actually mention that we need to make sure everyone's symptom-free as well.
And if she
So-
hadn't had sleep, she would have retorted to that. But since she has had sleep, she has enough control left to go, okay. It's like, I'm a
So you
doctor, I
start
know
doing
how
these
quarantines
tests.
work.
You start doing these tests, and you're testing the samples before ingestion. You're going back to some of the samples from people's ill people's stomachs, etc. If they still had any, you're looking at any food in their stomachs. You're looking at the blood samples. You're looking at all sorts of things. You're starting to put stuff together, and after a while, a fearful sense starts to descend upon you. You begin to find artificial markers, the kinds of stuff that indicates that whatever this is, it's lab made, and there are some markers in there that are akin to chemical weapons. There are some markers in there that are akin to biological weapons. It's more on the biological end. And you also have another horrible thought, which is even in your rushed training as part of going into the military, since you were in medical, you were briefed on this is what this particular Soviet agent does to you. This is what this particular Soviet agent does to you. This is how you deal with them. That combined with your civilian medical knowledge, the horrible thought that you are able to work out is this is new.
This is American?
No, it's new, as in, well, you don't
It's
know if
a
it's
new biological
yeah.
New,
weapon.
new.
It's
New,
you.
it's
You
new.
did it.
It's new
It's
as in novel.
new. It's like it's something brand new, like coming out of the factory.
Mhm. Well, knowing, I don't know what we said, I guess since I started first on what everyone's doing, we don't know yet what Lieutenant Sobisaw is doing, but that is who Rostергam is going to find. Because because of everyone that's on this base, she knows for sure that he has experience with NBC and might have some suggestions on what kind, like he would know even more about probably what sort of defenses have been used in the past that might help her to figure out, because if it's something new, then she's going to have to come up with something new to defend it against it. I mean, that's what she's off to go do right now.
Okay, all right. Soboslaw, are you getting in on this?
Yeah. After this, I need to head out because, as I warned,
Okay, are you heading out now?
not right now, but I'll just handle this thing and then my mom will
Sure thing.
drag me out.
Okay, all right. So, give me either a medical aid roll or a tech roll, your choice, at +1 because of your NBC, and then plus an additional 1 for the large number of samples that you've managed to gain. Okay, so with 2 successes, you would know that in the event that you have found a contaminant on a thing, if you can, destroy the thing and just don't touch it. That's the best thing. Ideally, don't burn it, because that's a fantastic way to get stuff in the air. Burial is a good option most of the time, unless it's a biological one and you get it too close to the water table. But you know some things about safe methods of destruction. If for whatever reason it is something that you cannot or do not want to destroy, washing it thoroughly is a good start. However, this is food. You would assume it's washed anyway before cooking. Other than that, you might want to wash it in a chemical compound that is specifically designed to counteract whatever it is you're dealing with. You are informed that this is new, so you have no such chemical compound. And the other general rule is, oh, for the love of God, don't ingest it. So yeah, that's pretty much all you can really come up with.
All right. Yeah, I gotta go to my mom's.
Oh,
Of course.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
GG, thanks for playing.
What?
GG, thanks for playing.
Yeah.
Just Nostro.
Just let me know. Just let me know what I'll miss. All right. See ya.
See ya.
So, Dr. Rostogram, you get that information from Lieutenant Sub as well.
Okay. Based off of that, it sounds like there's no way to save the supply, which was a bit of a long shot, but it was still, that would have been like an amazing solution. But
If you can find the right ingredients to counteract it, we could.
so
Do we know if this contaminant is a surface contaminant or is it embedded in the food itself?
From the excellent testing, it appears that it started as a surface contaminant, but with enough time, it like seeps in.
So there's probably not much of a chance of recovering this food.
Yeah.
But we need to protect the existing food supply. So I think we should clean, even if it's in a bag that's not contaminated, I think we should still consider cleaning the existing food before anything seeps into it.
Yeah. We we'll separate them, the ones that are contaminated from the ones that aren't, and then basically the ones that aren't, we're gonna just thoroughly wash them and see if we can get the civilians to actually help with this. Because instead of getting the civilians, we'll go and do that ourselves. Get at least two soldiers to actually help.
Okay, where are you going to be pulling those soldiers off from? Because you're starting to not have enough people.
Yeah. We'll get like two of the civilians that aren't sick, if they can actually help us. We'll say these ones aren't contaminated, but we're gonna make sure they aren't extra contaminated just in case.
Okay. All right. That is a shift's worth of work, and the civilians, they appear to be handling these sacks like they were bombs. They're very, very afraid to go near this stuff once they realize what it is, but they do it. There is a moment where one of them is like trembling as they're holding it, and they drop a contaminated sack of potatoes, and it just rolls out across the street.
That's okay. Me and we'll get them to handle the non-contaminated ones and clean up them, because it seems like they're nervous about holding them. So me and another, I think it's either Dalton or I'll get Dalton and Emil to help with the contaminated ones, removing them away, so it doesn't make the civilians more nervous about them. And I'll just wear gloves to pick up the ones that one that was dropped.
Real quick. This is the second shift. Emil is still out.
Yes, and I was about to pivot to that.
Then it's me and Dalton for the time being.
That's fine.
So Emil is out hunting, foraging. What's Emil up to, Tony?
I have sent you a message, and I would like to keep it a secret for now.
Fair enough. In that case, yep. So Emil is out hunting and foraging. As far as dealing with the spilt food and moving the food around, I'm not going to make you roll for that. It's time consuming, but it's easy. So you are able to successfully do that. That takes up the second shift. We've already had our NPC and medical expert doing testing, so we head now into the third shift. We'll start with Dr. Rostergram. Dr. Rostergram, with your discoveries, is there anything that you plan on doing in particular with your third shift?
I suppose just seeing if let's see, let's see, based on the equipment that she has, if there's anything that seems capable of counteracting this contaminant.
Okay, give me a medical aid roll with the +1 from your expertise, but no other bonuses. Okay. With those 3 successes, you do a couple of minor tests on with some of the various compounds that you have. You have a couple of bright ideas about merging a couple of them in a novel way, and none of it works. You then come to the relatively swift conclusion that since none of that worked, if you are going to come up with an effective counter to a novel, either chemical or biological weapon, you're going to need a research lab. You need a proper lab to do this.
There was a proper research lab around here. So what she will at least do is she'll be taking notes of her findings and share them with the other army doctor who is presumably, I guess, back in the medical ward. I think she's still down in autopsy area.
When you pass over those notes, the doctor sort of like takes copies, stows them, and is reading them. And as his eyes get further down your findings, you can see him visibly pale, and he looks up at you in an expression that can only be described as "oh shit," and it's as though he's looking to you for some sort of an answer.
Well, I think 3 years ago I would have said we pass this on to one of the research facilities. But aren't really something we have nearby.
Who could do this? Who could make a new agent? That nobody should be able to do that.
She swallows for a moment. Well, it seems like if anyone has those kinds of resources, it'd be somewhere near Moscow.
Maybe. I mean, who else is around here? There's
wait.
us and
if the Polish
Russians?
if the Polish of Krakow might be willing to help. I don't know, I haven't been there, but I hear that they've got working lights. Maybe other things are working there too.
maybe the Poles did this. And then he sort of pauses and shakes his head and goes, no, they wouldn't do this to their own people. And I don't think.
Unless, I mean, it seems like the other obvious answer is that on our way back from up north, we did come across some Soviet patrols, but no, maybe. I don't know if knowing who does it helps me to find a formula. If I had the chemical formula, if I could isolate it somehow. She'll glance out the, I was going to say window, it's probably a tent flap. Oh, I'm sure that Newton is laughing and laughing from his grave right now.
He looks at you quizzically, as if expecting an explanation for that comment.
Never mind.
Well, yeah, you're right, though. Knowing who did it, well, there is one way knowing who did it might help, which is if we know who did it, we might be able to find their lab, but who knows where that could be. But finding a compound, then, or at the laboratory, maybe Krakow will have one. Of all the places that the Polish army's in control of, Krakow is the most likely. They say you can find anything in Krakow, but yeah, we should box up and bag up as many of the cleanest samples that we can find and hold on to them, keep and take them with us to whatever testing site we may end up finding.
You think we can leave right now? I thought the quarantine was rather strict, that everyone needs to be symptom free.
He pinches the bridge of his nose and goes, I've forgotten. You're right. You're absolutely right. Everyone's going to need to be symptom free. And, well, I can't think of anything else to deal with this. We'll keep testing. We'll keep working, of course, but I'm not optimistic. We might have to wait for this to, now that we found the source, to burn itself out.
What have we been feeding
No.
our infected patients here? Like, is it
Oh,
like her line of thought is just, are we feeding them more contaminated food and water? Well, sorry, the water's clean, but any more contaminated food?
They said, well, we didn't know the food was a contaminant. They've been fed what everyone's been fed. The whole town's been eating this stuff.
Now that the contaminated's out of the food supply, it probably pass in a couple of days.
Possibly.
It'll start clearing up. It could, yeah.
One other thought too. We've been able to track contaminated sacks. So are there any people who've eaten contaminated food who are not ill? Like, is it possible?
It's difficult to tell who ate what from what sack. That wasn't tracked.
Okay.
Like, the way it was tracked is we have 5,000. Well, the 5,000 is an exaggeration. We have like 150 bags of potatoes. We then served 2 bags of potatoes in dinner today. Like, that is how precise the tracking is. So you don't know who ate what.
Not unless you start analyzing the outhouse samples, which she's not quite sure she should.
Okay, do we have any the big like buildings that is not the bowling alley but something else? We can get the civilians to come in and get a checkup.
There are like high street style shops, not as big as the bowling alley. The bowling alley is well, actually, there is a small one-screen cinema. You could probably use the cinema hall, although it's absolutely full of chairs, so it's not going to be good for lots of people standing.
We can use the chairs to give them a place to sit.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Also, yeah, there's also a small local school which will have a PE hall.
Yeah. You can choose one of those.
Okay. And are you effectively inspecting the entire civilian population for signs of infection?
Well, the ones who are already sick, we don't need to inspect, presumably.
Okay. All right then. Let me see. Give me a flat medical aid roll. You're going to be successful no matter what. This just gives me an indication of how quickly you're able to get through people, and that'll give me an indication of how many shifts it's going to take. Okay, 3. So I would say rounding all the civilians up and testing them all is going to be 2 shifts of work. You're already entering into 3rd shift, so it's going to be something that you don't finish until tomorrow. You might not even want to start it until tomorrow.
We can start it tomorrow. You
Yeah,
can start it tomorrow.
That's what I'm thinking. Is there anything else that I can help with, Commodore, in the meantime?
We're getting the contaminated stuff away from the food that is safe to. If you want to help us get contaminated food away from the normal food and clean the normal food, that's okay. Help with because I know the two civilians are a little shaking being around the contaminated food. Do you want to help them with the cleaning of the food? That's okay. To keep eye on them. Their morale.
Yeah, maybe that's a good bit of a boost if you see a doctor helping with some of the food.
Yeah. We'll make sure the contaminated food is nowhere near, so you can clean the ones that are okay.
I'm not going to make you roll for that. That is relatively simple to do, but it will take up your third shift, and you'll be then getting sleep deprivation effects if you don't do something for your fourth shift. Oh, if you don't sleep for your fourth shift. Meanwhile, Dalton, what are you doing with your third shift?
I probably would go back to the town hall and check in with the sergeant, see if there's any news on anything to report from him, and then I would probably go find a place to sack out for the night.
Yeah. You check in with the sergeant, and he comes back on, and nothing really beyond the spreading sickness and more people showing symptoms or getting worse has occurred. None of the pickets have displayed anything strange. There's been no odd communications. Everything except for the illness is completely as normal.
All right, and then before I would acknowledge his report, then I would go refill my canteen because we know that the water's clean, and I would find a place to bunk down for the night.
Absolutely.
Nearby the town hall.
Yep. The canteen can give you 2 units of clean water, so you can put those in your sheet. They should be hiding inside items, core set, gear, food, and drink. But okay, so you can give yourself 2 units of clean water. You hit the hay for the night. I'm assuming that the Commodore and Dr. Rostergram also hit the hay?
I will check the sergeant if there's anybody who contacted me, was trying to get a hold of me all day today or anything like that.
Interestingly, nothing. No contact has come in from the quarantine. That's not super surprising because it's only been a couple shifts. But yeah, no contact has come in from the quarantine supervisors yet.
And if I can interject, I don't have access to the item stuff.
Oh, do you not? Okay, I'll put those in and then I'll see if I can fix that. So there's 2 units of clean water for you.
Basically, I say if they're trying to get a hold of me during we're sleeping, can you please wake me up?
I've given all players limited ownership. Hopefully that will allow you to drag and drop but not edit the stuff that's in the lists.
Yep.
That should work. Actually, nope.
I'll... Okay. Try that. Alright, I've tried again.
Yeah, there's nothing populating on the items tab.
Okay, in that case, I will have to take a slightly more... I'll change it to Observer. Hopefully that will give you something. And if it doesn't go to Observer, I'll have to make you all Owner. in which case I'm going to have to really frickin' trust you not to fiddle with it. Okay, you should all now be observers.
Still nothing on the items tab.
That's really strange. I'll have to investigate that between sessions then. In the meantime, if people want items, just let me know. In fact, I'm assuming you're all going to refill your canteens?
Yep.
Okay, I'll put 2 clean units of water in everybody's sheet.
Thank you.
And
That?
yep.
Okay, that should be everybody. So, the 4th shift begins. You're all asleep. Nothing particularly interesting occurs through the night. None of you are interrupted. Tiny, please roll me 2d100.
Oh,
Okay.
that's good, right?
Okay. So that's right. Okay. There's just a couple of things I need to do because it's becoming quite important now.
Okay.
It's insisting on moving those two together.
Does anyone?
So, when you wake up in the morning, first of all, do you eat? We know the water is fine, so you don't need to consume any of the items of water that are on your sheet. I'm just going to assume you drink from your canteens and then instantly replenish them. Do you eat the farm food that you believe to be clean, or do you continue to eat from your own rations?
I'll continue eating from my own rations.
All right. In that case, everybody who is doing that, delete 1 item of food from your sheets. And let me know when that's been done.
Done.
Cool.
Done.
Excellent. Okay. So when you get your reports from the morning and the events that have occurred throughout the night, there is general bad news. Several extra US servicemen developed symptoms of such severity that they had to go to the medical tents. Either they were developing symptoms fresh, or they were already showing minor symptoms and they've gone into severe. But more than that, 7 servicemen died through the night. All of them were in the sort of medical tents. Another element of concern is that, and it's highlighted, is that the fit servicemen who are now on shift, there are no longer enough of them to maintain a proper perimeter. There are blind spots.
Okay. Now I'm growing concerned. Okay. He goes, I need to get onto the radio. And he contacts the guys that are just in perimeter room.
Okay. Contact
Commodore,
perimeter. Oh, carry on.
he goes, Commodore Wolf here. Is anyone available to talk right now?
Good morning, Commodore. This is Private Johnson. I am operating the quarantine at the moment, along with a few of my colleagues. We are waiting further instructions from Sestakova. We anticipate we will have them in the next few minutes.
We have a problem. We may not be able to contain the watchful eye around the perimeter of the city, the town we're in. We won't be able to. There's blind spots.
Come back with acknowledged, Commodore. Do the best that you can, but until quarantine is lifted, no new people will be entering. I have been told that this will include food shipments. A decision has not yet been made on whether or not you will receive additional food shipments, but that you certainly will not receive additional food shipments whilst the quarantine is active.
We're actually got rid of separated the quarantine food from the food we're able to salvage. We're just waiting for everyone to write it out, but there is some. It looks like it's not. It looks like it's been a chemical. It's been an attack. I don't know who by.
Out of
Understood.
character, do we know if this illness is viral or if it's a reaction to a chemical like a poison?
It's a reaction to a chemical.
So it's not a contagion. So we need to report that to them as well.
And he would say it's not a contagion as well. It's from the contaminated food supply. That's where the problem is lying, is that specific food supply is the cause of the outbreak. So no one can contract the disease.
Understood. We will pass that message along to command and await their decision.
Inform, make sure the Major is aware that 7 more of her troops have died through the night.
Thank you for that update. That is regrettable, but we will pass that report along to the Major.
Thank you. And he hangs up and he goes, well, we won't be getting any food until this is passed along. We don't know until the result comes down. So hopefully, yeah, Major.
Okay, so all of that is absolutely done, and there is a general period of waiting. Dr. Rustagram, with your first shift, do you start the testing of the civilian population?
Despite the disheartening news overnight, she will continue with testing the population.
Okay.
Or begin testing.
Word, by the way, fantastic. Word has gotten around that there's a sort of improvised morgue in the bowling alley. As you are doing your testing, you see a couple of people moving bodies in like wheelbarrows or carrying them as best they can, civilian bodies, to the bowling alley. It is apparent that civilians have also died through the night and are being shipped there. And it looks like more than 10, less than 20. Though without doing a proper head count, it's difficult to tell. As for testing the civilian population, of this town, where there's somewhat over 100 people, about 30 of them have shown absolutely no symptoms. You test those 30 people, and you take blood samples, and this will be 2 shifts worth of work. But as you're testing those samples, you find that of those 30 people, about 10 of them are infected but not yet showing symptoms. So that means there's a latency period of some description.
May be able to catch it early. And onto clean food.
I mean, hopefully everyone's eating clean food now, but yeah, she will want to. I was gonna say follow up with them, but that's kind of weird to say.
Yeah, you might as well follow up on them. Get them to come and check in every day. Them 10. Or if they start showing symptoms, they should come and see you.
I mean, oh yeah, that's right, because we only have NATO personnel in the medical tent.
So that's going to be 2 shifts worth of work for Rostogram, and I'm going to assume that Soboslav is helping out. Dalton, what do you do with your first and second shift?
I would be taking the senior NCO of the day and allowing the operations sergeant to get rest.
Okay. When you hand over from the sergeant who was running this place before you showed up, and you relieve him, at first you think it might just be because he has been tired, but then you remember that he's been getting proper sleep. He's starting to show symptoms.
Then he needs to go to the med tent.
Okay. I will move him. He goes to the med tent. Is it now because what's previously been happening is people who show symptoms but who've still been able to do their job have not been put in the med tent. Is an order now going out that even if you're able to do your job but are showing symptoms, you go to the med tent?
Yep.
Do we have a solution? Do we have a medication?
No, we don't. So anyone who shows symptoms are immediately ordered to go to the med tent, and that's coming from from Commodore Wolf.
Okay.
It's gonna hurt the perimeter.
Yeah, but
It's going to vacate the perimeter is what it's going to do.
yeah, if they're still in, if the doctor can clear them guys for
It's going to
they
put
can-
in town square like all of the tokens that would be affected by that decision, and then you can tell me whether or not that is a decision that you want to maintain.
He'll get the other doctor to go and check on the ones that are sick who are on the perimeter, and they individually come to the center of town, so individually go to the med tent to get checked up on.
So yeah, I put in the town square there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 tokens.
He wants the perimeter to keep secure, but he wants them to individually go at different times.
Okay, I will put them back. And what about the ones who are sick but who are currently sleeping?
He's gonna get the doctor to individually check up on them as well. So they,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And do you want them to be sleeping in their current places or going to the medical tents?
Sleeping in their current
Okay.
place.
Over here
Yeah.
then. So, that would actually chiefly be Dr. Rostogram's work. That'll take her third shift of the day. Before we get on to Dr. Rostogram's third shift, Dalton and the Commodore, you've still got time to do more work should you wish it.
He's waiting for any new news or update because everything's been hopefully contained at the present time.
After a while, you do get an update from the Commodore. Not the Commodore, the Major, and it comes through one of the people who is maintaining the quarantine. The Major herself is too far away to be put on a direct line. And the message is as follows. We have noted your severe manpower shortages. Do you believe that the agricultural output of the town can be saved? Even if they are going to suffer short-term problems, do you believe the town can continue to farm?
Yes, but we're gonna short-term costs. It's gonna hurt us for a short time, but in the long run, it should be fine. But we're gonna need yeah, it's gonna hurt us for the short time.
And how long do you believe your current food reserves that are clean can last?
He goes, Dalton, can you go and ask the quartermaster how long before we start running out the food
Yeah, I can do that.
The answer comes back relatively quickly. They estimate that, assuming that no one had died, assuming that they had kept their pre-infection population levels, the amount of food that they have could last 1.5 to 2 months. It'll obviously go further the more people die.
They could last about, if pre-infection, it would have been 1 to 2 months, but because we've been having people fall sick and get sicker and people dying, he goes, Dalton, can you you and the quartermaster do the tallies on how long it would take, the amount of dead and excluding the ones that are dead?
Okay.
That'll be a bit more of an exercise, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't even understand what I just got asked.
Basically, he wants to know how long will it take before they run out of food for the amount of people that they have.
Oh, so you want a projection on
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
out of okay, I got it.
You can give me a straight intelligence. Actually, I'll make it even easier. You can give me a survival roll for a projection based on current populations. Okay. Based on the current, so with the 2-month estimate, will get you into October. With the number of people who have died, if no one else dies, it'll get you to late November, early December. If, however, people keep dying at the current rate, which is effectively everyone who shows a symptom dies eventually, because so far there have been no survivors. If that happens, then the amount of food that's currently stockpiled will take you well into next year, but that's only because you're only going to have about, I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 30 people left alive.
He goes, the rate that disease is killing people is there is a 0% chance of survival rate.
Yeah, your sample size isn't exactly huge, but yeah, so far everyone who's gotten sick has died. So far, no one's
Yeah.
gotten better.
And he goes, at the present time of how many people we have in the city, only 20 people will survive. And if those 20 survive, they could last out the winter and into next year.
There's a sort of an understanding there. We will pass this information along to command and come back with a plan shortly.
Make sure to tell the major it's a 0% chance of anyone surviving from the disease. So anyone who gets it dies.
That we will pass that information along to command. The communication. Okay, so that takes up a good section of your time. Unless there's anything else, we'll move into fourth shift. But there is time for people to do things in third shift should they wish.
Couple out of character questions, things that I think came up last session. We said that all the people started getting sick. It was just a couple, I'm trying to remember what time frame we said all this even started.
It was a few days. So when you came through here on your journey north, everyone was healthy. When you came back, there was this, and the time scale there is about 4 days.
Yeah.
And then I think the quartermaster would know this answer, but the food that's here now, has it been, is it based off of a current harvest where there's currently food coming in? Or was this all brought in at some point a few weeks ago, a few months ago? Just because he had said that it would take about 2 to 3 months to be able to track, or to put in the tracking system, because that was when the next harvest would be, if I understood correctly.
Yeah, effectively their autumn harvest. Most of what they've got here is based off of last year's big harvests. However, some of the vegetables and so forth that have got shorter grow times would have been a few months ago, but there's nothing super recent.
Okay. So probably that would mean that the food hadn't been contaminated the whole time. Because what she was starting to wonder is, do we need to start investigating the places where these are grown? But if it only took about 4 days for people to start getting sick, I don't know, it seems like if it's food that came in, well, I guess it depends on if it's food that came in last year that people started eating immediately last year, or if they just now got around to it. She's kind of trying to figure out at this point, when exactly could it have been contaminated? Was it contaminated in the field, during transit, during storage?
That's a good question.
Too bad. I mean, I think right now she's busy. What was it? We had a couple servicemen who needed checked up, so she can't really investigate any of that. But she'd at least, unless she passes it off to the army doctor and goes, "Can you get someone to figure this out?" I have a thought.
If you mention it to the Commodore or the Dalton, we will probably end up investigating it.
Tell you what, if you walk by the tent while she's talking about that's how you can find out and go, okay, I'll do something.
I'll deliberately walk past. I'll walk up and see if any new updates from you. Okay, hey Doc, is there any new updates? Okay, I'll check in that.
By the way, give me a flat, actually medical aid +1 because you've got a relevant skill for it, Rostergram. But give me a medical aid roll for inspecting the other servicemen who are still sort of on duty or sleeping, but are starting to show signs. Okay, one success. You can tell that there are a decent number of soldiers, seemingly a little over half of the soldiers who are not already in the medical aid tents are showing symptoms. You estimate that the ones that are currently sick but able to serve will be so sick they can't stand in either a day or 2 days, and will probably be dead in 4 or under.
You would pull the Commodore aside and report the status of these servicemen, since he just happened to stop by.
They aren't going to survive.
Well, so far no one has survived, but that doesn't mean we're not going to stop trying. You know,
Yeah. We can't get out of quarantine until it all clears up, so yeah, you might as well try. If this is a new contaminated, we might as well try and see if we can get a survival rate. Because at this present time, we need some luck on our side.
Well, I know that, you know, the doctor in me doesn't want them going back out, but I understand that our perimeter, that we are running short.
He goes, he looks at all the soldiers. He goes, make sure they actually are told to eat a healthy diet, please. Make sure they're eating and
Eating
drinking.
their vegetables.
Yes, the good ones, not the bad ones.
I'll say it again, but you know how often people listen to doctors when they say to eat your vegetables? She cracks a bit of a smile at that. Even now.
Even now, and if they don't listen to you, tell them the Commodore ordered. Tell them it's an order from the doctor. An order, not a recommendation.
Yep, I suppose Commodore's orders go a bit further than doctor's orders.
Yeah. If they don't want to listen, then it's an order.
Alright, I'll tell them. Before you go, Commodore, I've been thinking about... It was just... Or was it... We were gone... Like, we came through Praska, and everything was fine. And then only about 4 days later, we come back, and then this is all happening. If this food was harvested presumably last season, then I guess what I'm trying to think is it possible the food... I mean, I know I've been thinking that maybe the food was contaminated at the farm, but what if it was contaminated? I suppose it might make more sense if it was contaminated here. Just the way that the symptoms seem to be appearing so rapidly, that if it was, you know, if it came from the farm that way, I would have expected this to come up a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year.
I'll double check on when they started using this food supply.
I'd like to know that.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll help.
I'll go and see the quartermaster and check up on with him. Yes, I'll go and see the quartermaster. Why, if you want to go and talk, do some more work, and I would assume that Mead's probably somewhere around, and Dalton as well.
Presumably.
We know Mead. He's probably out doing something.
But you would think that. Well, I don't know. I didn't see him come back last night, but I might have just gone to bed earlier. So that's what I've been assuming anyway.
I mean, it's a big boy. If he doesn't come back, he'll come back when he feels like it. He's not a NATO soldier, so I can't order him to stay here.
Right. Well, I should probably get back to these men, Commodore. So
Yeah. Enjoy, and I'll go and see the quartermaster.
thank you.
But if yeah, going to see the quartermaster, yeah.
And so, exactly what is it that you are asking or checking with quarters?
Seeing when they started using the contaminated food.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, their records can't work out when they used which sack, but they have been eating generally all of this food from the previous harvest for months.
Okay. He goes, okay, is there, he goes, before I start a panic over at Prasgal, was this place broken into recently?
Well, we didn't catch anyone, but there was that thing that your funny old friend found.
I mean, he always catches things with his eyes. He's really good with seeing things.
Yeah, he found. Yeah, he found that thing out round back.
Okay, we don't know if that's been done recently or, yeah.
Oh, he said it was pretty darn recent, judging by the
Okay.
tracks. They'd have washed away if they were too old.
Okay, we're gonna just go and play safe than sorry for the ones at Prasgar. See if they, do some testing over there for their soldiers. Just on the safe side that they haven't been eating the contaminated food, but I want to play safe than sorry in the long run. And rule out it's just...
I'm not quite sure what you're getting there, Mac.
Basically, he doesn't want... he wants to rule out that that somebody actually contaminated the food after everyone left. That's what he wants to try and rule out.
Oh, what you mean after your group came through this town and went north?
Yeah.
Okay. How would you propose on working that out?
He wants to go and see if they can do a testing over at Prasgar for the people that Crespies.
Oh, you mean test Crespies? Yeah.
Yeah, Crespies. See if any of the people are showing symptoms over there to rule out any possible. It's been in the works for months.
Okay. Do you radio that out?
Yeah. He goes. Alert the. Can you get the major to order a testing of everybody who was part of our troop over here to see if there's any of them are sick?
You want us to check the town of Crespies?
Yes. We want to double check it.
We'll see what we can do, but they're not exactly warm to us, so there may be some negotiating that needs to be done, but we'll do what we can.
And can you double check can you get the major to check her troops, the people who we took over there as well.
Ah, very well. We'll ensure that our troops here are tested as well.
Yeah. To be safe than sorry, okay?
Of course. Yeah, expect the results sometime tomorrow.
Yep, thank you. And he hangs up and goes, Dalton, it depends on, he goes, looks like the food that was in the storage was harvested a couple of months ago, but we don't know if it's the couple of months ago that they were poisoned or contaminated, or if it's done recently after we left. We want to rule it out. No?
Okay, well that will be relatively straightforward, sort of happening off
Yes.
off screen, as it were.
He goes, oh, Dalton, have you seen a meal?
Not in quite some time, sir.
Did he fall sick and fall over, or fall sick and fall off the grid?
The last I heard, he was out foraging and hunting.
Yeah, we can't waste any manpower looking for him, but if he doesn't come back by tomorrow morning, and we can go out and search for him. I like to give him his freedom, but
All right. That consumes pretty much everyone's third shifts, unless there's anything you desperately want to draw to my attention. Otherwise, do you all sleep for your fourth shift?
yes, if there's any new developments, I told any the new runners that just wake him up.
Okay, Tiny, roll me 2d100, please.
And I would refill or get, a portion of food back in my pack.
Of course. Yeah, you can all get. You can. Assuming that you eat the clean vegetables, you can every fresh morning. You don't have to take off food from your markers. As for getting like surplus food, they are a bit nervous considering how much they just had to destroy. But you could all get one like surplus ration of clean vegetables in addition to not having to take anything off every day for the remainder of your stay here. Is that something you all want to do?
Yeah, I think a surplus in my pack would be better.
I won't, because I got a couple of rations myself, but if anyone who hasn't got a surplus can do that.
All right. I'll assume Sobislaw takes this deal, and so I'll put a unit of food into Sobislaw's sheet. Does Rostergram take this deal?
Well, she has no other food, so yes.
Alright, so yeah, you will eat happily, like every day now. If you're eating the vegetables, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to take food off of your sheet anymore whilst you're in town. And yeah, you're given one unit of wild food, but that's it. You're not going to get it every day. It's like a one-time thing.
I still think we need to send out hunting parties if Emil doesn't come back with food. So I will volunteer to do that if he comes back unsuccessful with any food.
Okay.
I'm hoping he comes back soon.
All right. Just going to do something here. There we go.
I'm just basically sitting around in the hall, just waiting for any new updates. And I would remind the doctor to double check on the I'll get Dalton to check on the people that the doctor actually would have mentioned who were sick
Mhm.
on the civilian, and check our troops as well.
Okay, so throughout the night, things progress as you might expect. Unfortunately, you wake to reports of 4 more deaths from the tents, and 4 more people, servicemen, being too sick to work and having been moved to the tents. This now means that your picket consists of 1 person in each of the 4 cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, and 1 person like in the center coordinating things. You've got 5 people currently sleeping, many of whom are showing early signs of infection. You've got a medic who is clean, like in the tents, and you've medical tents, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people showing symptoms in the tents. Your initial group of 30 people has now been reduced to 18.
Yep. Okay.
And just to be clear, this is not an infection; it's a poisoning, right?
That is your current working thesis.
Okay, because we keep using terms that lead me to believe this is biological rather than chemical. So, just want to be clear.
You get a radio message from the quarantine team in the morning,
Yep.
and they ask to be put onto the Commodore.
I go Commodore here.
Commodore, this is the plan as passed down from the Major. We wish to confirm your findings that the problem is non-transmissible, as a result of which we would ask that you take some of your samples and place them a little outside of town. One of our people will then collect those samples and take them off for your findings to be confirmed by another clinician. If those findings are confirmed that this is not transmissible, we will send reinforcements with enough food to sustain those reinforcements so as that the town can be held. We fear that the town may be attacked whilst weak, and we cannot afford to lose good farmland. As for the civilian population, we will have to wait. We anticipate, sadly, from your findings, that most of the civilian population of the town will die. Once that has occurred, if you are unable to prevent it, when harvest season comes, we will ship in new civilian labor to ensure that the harvest is not lost, and then hopefully the town can resume turning an agricultural profit in order to feed Sestakova. Sestakova will not be able to send you food in any meaningful amount for the civilian population. We are already running at a food deficit. We are dependent on Praska and a few other outlying settlements to feed us.
Understood. I'll go and get tell the Major 4 more soldiers have passed away, and we are severely undermanned, and we will give you the samples immediately. I'll send one of my team who isn't affected to go and put it where the location you want it to be.
Very good. Thank you, Commodore. We have commenced testing in Sestakova. We have not been able to yet do any testing in Crespis. Sestakova, so far, none of our troops are showing any symptoms, and there's nothing strange with our food supply. Then when we have your samples, we'll know better what to look for.
Yep. I will get back to you when my soldier will be going out there.
Understood. Quarantine out.
He goes down to Dalton. He goes, Dalton, I need you to stop the look around. I'll go and look around myself, but I need you to go and get the samples from the doctor and deliver at these locations. I'll go and look through the civilian population, but I need them delivered immediately.
Will do, sir.
He goes back up and alerts the quarantine center that it's going to be delivered soon, and he goes to look around the town to see if there's any more dead or any more severely sick.
As for the more severely sick, civilians severely sick, with your door knocking, it's apparent that quite a large number of them are now severely sick, and a few of them are now showing early symptoms, chiefly the ones that were showing no symptoms that Rostogram pinged as positive. There's also a not insubstantial handful of additional deceased. Sometimes you're able quite clearly to see what's happening because people are carrying their dead to the bowling alley. In other cases, it is a matter of nobody answering the door and you forcing the door and finding dead people inside. But the casualties are starting to stack. Give me a stamina roll, just flat. Okay. You don't vomit or anything unless you choose you wish to, but when you are checking things out and you go into the bowling alley, it's really starting to smell. Partly just due to general dead people smell, but also you get with a relatively large number of infected, well, I say infected, a relatively large number of contaminated in a small space. The method of their death creates an extra pungency, and this bowling alley is getting pretty wretched.
I will go and see the doctor and say, can we start digging a graveyard soon, because the bowling alley's gonna become a hotspot disease. Because haven't you just have you smelt the bowling alley just recently?
She winces at that. She's probably not been in the bowling alley because the whole of yesterday was spent testing servicemen and testing civilian members of the population. She will. Aside from that wince, though, she will nod. Say, "I'll get it taken care of, sir."
Yeah. I go, just have a whiff of it. You'll understand why I'm mentioning it, because I wouldn't be mentioning it for no other reason. Yeah, we don't want a problem where we have to decontaminate it.
She bites back a retort at that. Because she clearly does know what dead bodies smell like, but she will. It's early enough in the day. She still has plenty of self-composure and control, so she will just nod, keep a straight face.
Yeah, he is used to dead bodies, but man, having the sickness there as well, it's like, I want to throw up.
Does the doctor go and check that out immediately, or does she attend to a different piece of business first?
So there are samples that are being taken to the quarantine zone, or not zone, but to the perimeter. That's the word I'm looking for. She would be a little bit concerned about no medical person going along with the samples. And like in her mind, it's like, well, someone's gonna ask questions. or if they have any questions about what to look for specific markers, that's something that I'm gonna know the answer to, but someone else may not know that.
Out of character, I will say this was explained to the Commodore, which
Yeah.
is just in case you're wrong about the transmissibility, the plan is that you leave the samples, go away, and then someone else comes in and picks it up once you're gone, so they never have to get too close to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why he sent Dalton, because he can just put it down and walk away.
Okay. So presumably Dalton could have filled her in the Commodore could have both filled her in if she had
Yeah.
those questions. So,
Yeah, if you have them questions, he would just answer straight to you. Like, he's supposed to drop it down and just walk away.
well, yeah, she'll head back down to the bowling alley.
You enter the bowling alley, and the bowling alley is completely unguarded because there aren't enough people to guard it anymore. But when you enter the bowling alley, you are immediately confronted with both the smell of early decay and the smell of people who have died with a relatively large amount of discharges, unfortunately. It is deeply unpleasant. There are about 60 dead bodies in here now, and they've largely civilian, although about 12 military. And they've clearly been laid out in a respectful manner. It's obvious that the people who put them here cared about them, so they've been put in appropriately respectful positions. They've had somebody has done up their hair and tried and put them in some good clothes, or made them look presentable, and they're laid out as best they could. As though they were trying to treat this as though it were more of a funeral parlor. They haven't just been dumping bodies in here.
She's not sure if she wants to cry or to vomit at that. That's a lot. That's a lot for her emotionally at that point.
Crying and vomiting at the same time, it'll be the Commodore will accept that you're emotional about.
No, vomiting would just be more if she couldn't stand the stench, but
If you're crying about it, then you'll be crying over the
Tell you what, although it's a slight misuse of the mechanic, it'll be, I think, appropriate. You can give me a cool under fire roll, making sure that the team morale is set at B. And if you fail the cool under fire roll, you definitely cry. If you pass it, then you can choose.
Who's that? The Commodore or the...
that's me.
That's Rostogram's. Yeah, it's Rostogram's thing.
You're still up there on the. You're not even here, so you don't get to.
You don't get to cry.
Okay, I'll get to cry.
Your tears might just be from vomiting and then those kinds of tears. All right, D8 for that. Team morale is a C. Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's it. So give yourself a point of stress, not physical, mental. Give yourself a point of stress because, oh my word, you have just been confronted with 60, not bodies, but loved and cared for people who have been laid out in their best clothes where possible, done up in the best possible fashion to look as good as they can for these circumstances. And even in this dire moment, friends and family have taken what emotional and sentimental care they can over their dead. And there are about, 60 such bodies laid out in neat rows in the lanes of the bowling alley.
Well, at some point, I'm going to assume that she can compose herself. So.
Oh yes, absolutely. You're not completely broken down forever. You can, yeah. A few moments later, you'll be in control of yourself.
And, so she'll take a moment to step outside, get some fresh air, glance up to the sky. Won't be able to find any words to say. And then just go back inside and start moving. Well, start figuring out which bodies are going to go to the graves first. Just start working on.
It's relatively easy to work that out. Are you just doing it by oldest first?
Yeah, I might as well get the. Because presumably the oldest are the ones that are the most pungent, for lack of a better word. Actually, but as she starts to pick up the first one, she's going to wonder if there's anything worth looking at. If it'd be worth trying to perform another autopsy to see if there's any signs that that the body's reacting with this chemical compound in some way.
Give me a medical aid roll with like the +1 from your specialisms to work out whether or not that is a useful thing to do, unless you just decide you want to do it. Okay. Something in the back of your mind goes, it might be useful to do an autopsy of people who died after the food situation was changed to see if their food intake changing had any impact on the progression of the illness.
Well, the easy candidates, the ones who we know for sure would have switched over the food. Well, actually, no, sorry, we presumably separated out, destroyed all the, not destroyed, but we separated it out, so no one's eating any more contaminated food. So pretty much anyone who died overnight then would be a good candidate.
Yeah.
You can select one of them at random and do an autopsy should you so wish.
She will. Yeah, I don't know who she's going to be able to pawn off the morgue responsibilities to, but she can at least work on that autopsy in the meantime.
Considering you've done, the sort of things that you're looking for, you've got the tools, etc. You can give me either a medical aid roll at +2 if you want to do it over a single shift, or at +3 if you want to do it over 2 shifts and really take your time to get the results of that work.
We're going to do it over 2 shifts because she really needs to. She's just needing a win. It's like we need to find something. We need to nail down something, because that statistic of everybody dying is just. Even if we're all going to be okay, she's like, her hope is that if ever this war is ever going to end, she can be a doctor in a hospital. But this new biological agent is always going to be something that's in this world. So if she can find something now, then who knows what lives she's able to save down the road. So with that kind of mental reasoning, you said if she did over 2 shifts, that would be a +2 or a +3 modifier to the roll.
+3 for 2 shifts.
Plus, I'll get Silverslaw to start doing the digging and burying the loved ones.
Oh, are you kidding? That's so sad.
Yes!
Do you wish to choose to push that?
Well, the problem is one of them's already a fail, so...
One of them's a failure, which will mean you will, if you do push, you will take a point of mental stress, bearing in mind that you do heal from that over time anyway. So
you know what?
Entirely
yes.
up to you.
We're going to push it. We're going to do better. Marginally.
Fantastic. You continue... that annoys me. So you continue to fail, and you take a point of mental stress.
Done.
It'll be interesting to see if the sheet automatically put it in.
I added it myself.
Excellent. So you take that point of mental stress, and you do a very thorough autopsy, but maybe the setting, maybe the fact that you're getting into the trees and have been looking at the same thing again and again and again and again, and you're starting to get tunnel visioned, you learn nothing new from this particular investigation. I am disappointed on your behalf.
Yes.
But hey, them's the dice. So yeah, Soboslaw is effectively loading bodies into the truck in preparation of... Where do you want to bury them? Do you want to bury them in a churchyard? Do you want to bury them out of town? What do you want to do?
Well, we're gonna have to make a gravesite, area designated for burial, so no one can harvest there. And I'll say it's outside of town.
Oh, I was going to say churchyard.
Mainly because we can designate that as a, like, no one can harvest on this specific land.
Complete sense. Okay, so that's most of... not all, but most of Rostogram's day. Dalton, it'll take you about a shift to go and put the samples down and come back. Is that... Do you want to do anything whilst you're out there and a little way outside of town, or do you want to just put them down and come straight back?
I want to, if there's an animal or any kind of food source, I want to exploit it while I'm out doing that. So I do want to hunt while I'm doing this.
You can make me a flat survival roll. Okay. As you're doing it, you do see some indication of, like, rabbit out in the field off to the left.
So I want to blast it.
Yeah, sure. You can give me a range combat roll, and if you're using your sniper rifle, you'll get a +1 from your sniper talent to blast it.
I am not going to increase rate of fire. I'm just going to take a single shot.
Okay. So that will be enough, and then I'll roll. You will receive... That happened. Yeah, you will receive 2 units of meat. So you've got 2 units of food that you can get from this rabbit carcass.
Wild food, I presume?
Put it down as domestic food, because domestic food is supposed to be like meat. Wild food is supposed to be berries and veg, and you get more nutrition in smaller units with meat. Which is why domestic food weighs less than wild food.
Well, I have no way of adding domestic food, so...
Sure thing. I'll do that right now. There we go. I've put them in your sheet for you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
And I need to go, by the way.
Sure thing. We're heading up to session end time.
Oh.
So Dalton has successfully harvested a rabbit and left the supplies. If he keeps an eye on it, he'll note that after a while, some US servicemen come up and take the supplies once he's a sufficient distance off. That happens without difficulty, and it is driven away pretty gosh darn quickly. Commodore, you receive a radio update, which is that Commodore, although we do not yet have the samples, the Polish presence in Krez has not been happy about our servicemen coming in and doing testing. They have, however, taken our description of the symptoms and checked their own population. They have not been able to take any blood samples or do any chemical testing, but from interviewing their population, no one is presenting with any symptoms.
Okay, keep them apprised that it may be attached to if check their food supplies. or any contaminated bio attack or poisoning in, I'll say poisoning on food?
Very well, we will alert them. In the meantime, the good doctor is performing an autopsy without too much success. And no one has heard from Emil. And unless there's anything anybody wants to sort of immediately do right now, since Sorel has to go, I propose on wrapping up there. Is there anything anyone wants to address quickly before we sort of move on?
No, he would do, Commodore will be waiting till tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Everything.
In that case, Tiny, roll me 2d100.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Oh God.
I did
right.
it.
Okay. So,
Nice one.
when everything begins again the next morning, all of the U.S. servicemen who were in the medical tents are dead. All of them died in the night, and 3 new people have become sick and been admitted.
Yep. As he suspected.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, in that case, unless there are any questions, we will begin tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow. We will begin our next session with sort of like dawn tomorrow